Hey guys, this is Ryan here with Hobbies Man. Once again, and today we're doing another manga first impressions review. It's been a while since I did one of these, but that's just because I don't really buy volume ones anymore, or very rarely, right? And yeah, so today we're looking at Blue Lock, episode Nagi, volume 1. I think there was 3 volumes in the story total, at least so far. I guess that there's more coming because you want to look at the story from his perspective, but I don't know how far that goes because, like, just focus more on the character in the story, right? Like, I mean, I'm not really sure what the point of this story is, beyond like just banking on some of the popularity of the character, because there's not really much going on that isn't already visible, right? And so before we get really into this, let me give you the information necessary for this, right? So this is still written by Muneyuki Kaneshiro, so it's still by the original creator, but the artwork here is done by Kota Sanomiya, who apparently was a fan artist that got tapped for their talent to join, Muneyuki Kaneshiro to work here because he has some ties to Kodansha or whoever publishes this in Japan, right? And the character designs are still done by Yusuke Nomura because, of course, they are. He is the main artist on the series. Publisher-wise, this is by Kodansha. Here's what the side of this looks like. And the demographic is shonen. I don't know which magazine it publishes in. It probably doesn't publish in the same one that Blue Lock does, but it's in the same family of magazines, right? The same way that Shonen Jump has Jump Plus and what's it called, Manga Plus and stuff like that. The Kodansha one probably has the same kind of idea as well. Genre-wise, this is a sports manga. This is a death game type manga, or like the main story is kind of a death game. This is more of a slice of life element just because of the way that it focuses on different things slightly than the main story. And it does have an adaptation, actually. This is probably the first time that I've seen an adaptation of a manga that isn't still done, that isn't related to the main manga, that is about a spin-off that released before it even got released here in the States. I'm sure that there's other ones like that, but this is the first one that I can remember that has happened while I'm aware of manga, right? That was a really weird way of saying this was adapted a while back, even though it probably didn't deserve to until a few years from now, but it kind of tided people over while they were getting ready to watch season 2. And apparently season 2 of Blue Lock is pretty bad. I have not watched it just because I'm basically reading through season 2 right now through the manga. And given that they're changing how often the manga releases, means that I don't really have to watch the anime anymore. And that makes it better for me, so I don't really have to cry about it every time they fuck up the manga adaptation, which they do pretty often for a lot of things. So, yeah, the premise of the story is basically just the same Blue Lock story that we already know from the first 2 or 3 volumes, but it's actually from the viewpoint of Nagi, right? So Nagi's name is Seishiro, and this story basically starts with him just living his life, kind of being a character that wants to live a good life, but wants to be lazy about it. He wants to try the least possible to achieve that high status life that he wants, where he's just kind of coasting through life because he's kind of a genius. He's a bit of a savant, and somehow he ends up encountering Rel, and of course it's because he manages to pluck his phone in a very interesting way with his feet, and so it seems like Rel thinks he can play soccer, and so we see Rel forcing Nagi to go along with him, and Nagi being too polite or maybe too uncaring to really say no, and so is pushed around until he accepts, and they start playing soccer. And we get to see a little bit of what we already knew about Nagi, but a bit more expanded. And we get to see their rise in popularity, their rise in ability, until they got tapped by the Blue Lock program and them joining it. And mostly it's focusing on Nagi's relationship with Rail, so that when we see them being antagonistic to each other in the main manga, because of their falling out or whatever, it hits harder. And this is probably for the Fuyoshis, honestly. I didn't find anything wrong with this. I found it enjoyable. I liked it. I liked it better than the movie, even though it's exactly the same story. But I think that's just because I really enjoy the artwork, and I enjoy just having more Blue Lock to read, right? But this isn't necessarily targeted at your mainline Blue Lock fans because it doesn't really add anything. I think this is targeted towards super fans, collectors, people that will buy anything that has a Blue Lock name on it. I happen to sort of fall into that just because I bought this, right? But it almost feels targeted to Fuyoshi type, fans that are very into male sports manga because of the potential romantic undertones that most of them kind of seem to carry, right? And so if you're a fan of Haikyuu and you want to get into another manga, this might be it for you because it has a lot of those Fujo kind of bait kind of things. And this one specifically does because it focuses on these friends to enemies kind of plot line that kind of happens throughout the story because Rao gets upset at being betrayed in his eyes by Nagi in the main story, right? So this is mostly just a way to feed off of the fan base in a way that feels not too scummy because they are giving us a full manga about it. But there really isn't too much going on here that feels very, very necessary, right? So otherwise, I think the story is okay. The artwork is really good because even though it's not exactly the same, it does have a lot of good similarities to the story. And so unless I was seeing it side to side, completely, comparing it and contrasting it, I wouldn't even tell that this isn't really Yusuke Nomura. So I think that Kota Sanomiya does a great job here. So very, very good stuff. In terms of artwork, the story is fine, like I said. If you're a super fan, get this. If you're only really interested in the main plot line, don't bother. It's not necessarily for you. So, those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you thought down below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.